All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're taking a journey into what you might call the architecture of the soul. We're going to use a series of really profound allegories to map out a descent into the deepest, most hidden parts of who we are. So let's get started. So, right off the bat, we start with this incredibly powerful metaphor. The self is a haunted house where the basement has no floor. I mean, just think about that. It perfectly sets the stage for what we're about to explore, a psyche that is way, way stranger and more infinite than we ever imagined. Okay, so our journey begins with a wanderer. This person is running away from the normal, comfortable world, leaving the warmth of the surface to face something new, something terrifying, an authority known as the Hollow Sun. I want you to imagine standing under a sun that gives off no heat, no comfort. That's the Hollow Sun. It's this cold sentinel in a subterranean world, and its job isn't to nurture you. Nope. It's more like a psychic scalpel, designed to literally cut away everything you think you know about yourself. The dark light from this sun reveals what Freud called the unheimlich, or the uncanny. You know that feeling, right? It's that super unsettling sense you get when something totally familiar suddenly becomes alien and scary. The hollow sun makes you feel like a guest in your own mind, like a stranger in a house you thought you owned. So what exactly does this uncanny light show us? Well, it just shatters all our core illusions. It reveals that the ego isn't who you are. It's just a defense mechanism. The self, that's just a costume. And the thing wearing the costume is some nameless primordial force. This whole operation is under the authority of what's called the dead father, which is a symbol for Freud's death drive, that deep unconscious pull towards stillness, towards, well, non-existence. So, now that our wanderer has been completely stripped of their defenses, they meet a guide. But this isn't some wise old sage or a figure of divine light. Oh no. This is someone who represents a deep recognition of the darkness that we all carry inside. This guide is called the prophet, and he's basically a holy fool who embodies the shadow. You know, all the parts of ourselves we push down and deny. He is the uncanny made flesh. He's not here to offer enlightenment from on high. He's here to force you to have a visceral, gut-level recognition of the internal rot we all try to hide. This slide just contrasts the two perfectly. You've got the superego on one side, that's your inner critic, the part of you that imposes all these rigid moral rules. And then you have the prophet, a completely disruptive force. His laughter is described as tectonic, like it's powerful enough to shake the very foundations and shatter all those civilized rules that keep our wilder spirit locked away. So the next trial is a big one, a confrontation with your own reflection. But as you've probably figured out by now, this is no ordinary mirror. It's actually a portal. The prophet leads the wanderer to this silvered mirror, and it provides this core, deeply unsettling realization known as the uncanny double. It's that bizarre feeling that the person staring back at you isn't really you. It reveals that the I is just a stranger wearing your face. And when you step through that mirror, the normal rules of reality just go out the window. In this space, shadows have actual weight. The illusion that you're one unified I completely shatters. Instead, you see the self for what it is, a collection of fragments scattered across years of repressed traumas. And it exposes that hidden monstrosity we all kind of suspect is lurking in there somewhere. We have now arrived at the central ordeal of this whole journey. It's a ritual, yeah, but not for purification or cleansing. This ritual is about integration. It's designed to welcome all that darkness in. The setting here is so important. This ceremony is happening at the symbolic core of the planet, which really just represents the deepest, most primal part of our psyche, the molten, chaotic id. This is where all our raw, unfiltered, instinctual drives are churning. The steps of this ritual are just dripping with symbolism. First, everyone eats the bitter bread of the unconscious, which means they're ingesting the hard truths they've buried. They drink mercury from a chalice, integrating what's toxic and monstrous within them. And finally, they recite their deepest fears out loud, over and over, until they're no longer just hidden anxieties, but a shared rhythmic pulse. The whole goal is total radical acceptance. And this is the profound lesson that comes out of the ceremony. All the things we've repressed, all the darkness we've cast aside, our shadow, it turns out that's the hidden foundation of what we truly want, Our deepest desires are actually built upon the very things we've been taught to deny our whole lives. So after integrating the shadow, what's next? Well, that leads us directly to the journey's climax, the violent, the final, and ultimately the liberating destruction of the self-image we have spent our entire lives building. So as we head into this climax, I have to ask you, seriously, think about it. When the ego, the morals, the idea of a stable self, when all of that is stripped away, what is actually left? And bam, the prophet shatters the great mirror. This single violent act is the point of no return. It symbolizes the permanent fracturing of the ego ideal, that perfect version of ourselves we're always striving to be. With that mirror broken, raw, unfiltered energy from the id just floods the psyche. The aftermath is this kind of chaotic beauty. The shards of the mirror fall into the central pit, and they create a stunning kaleidoscope of repressed memories. The wanderers, they dance on the broken glass, and they find this strange peace, not in being whole, but in the absolute absence of a home. The boundary between themselves and the world just completely dissolves. But the journey doesn't end down there in the depths. The final stage is the return to the surface. But as you can imagine, the wanderer is now fundamentally and permanently changed. They don't come back as conquering heroes. They come back as ghosts, carrying the dampness of the underground in their bones. They bring this uncanny philosophy with them, and it's like a contagion. It unsettles other people, the ones who still believe they're the sole masters of their own minds. And here it is, the final stunning revelation. The entire journey, the temple, the hollow sun, all of it, it was never some external place. It was all a projection of the wanderer's own psyche. Those temple walls, they were literally built from their own hardened and repressed memories. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to chew on. If the self is really just a fragmented collection of shared, repressed forces, and our inner world is this vast, interconnected space, then maybe the greatest illusion of all, maybe the only real sin, is believing that we are ever truly separate and truly alone.